Recording
Thank you so much.
in progress.
Perfect. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for being here, or good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you happen to be chiming in from. We'll go ahead and take a moment to ground ourselves, find ourselves seated on our cushion, or maybe cross-legged on the mat. For some of you, this is day 3. For others, you're a week in. And I know at this point, we can often have that kind of marrying of excitement and inspiration with also a bit of overwhelm by the amount that we're taking in. And so this morning's yoga practice, I'm taking that into consideration, kind of playing with this whole range of emotions that we might be experiencing at any given moment. And our yoga practice can be a great opportunity to either set those emotions down next to us and try to wipe the slate clean, or allow all of those emotions to be present. And we can make that choice, and you can make the choice that feels most right for you in where you are in this moment. But I do invite you to allow all of those feelings to be present and welcome. So it's okay to feel overwhelm and excitement. It's okay to feel nervous and happy. It's okay to feel confused and also inspired. And so I invite you, if it feels comfortable. If not, of course, you're welcome to set things aside and just be with your breath. But if you're interested in playing a little bit with letting everything be okay, then I invite you to settle the shoulders, drop the sits bones into your cushion, and feel that breath coming way down into the low belly, finding a nice long inhale, and a nice long exhale. And continuing to allow that long inhale and long exhale to come and go at a pace that feels most right for you. Letting the belly be soft as we start our practice so that the inhale can come all the way down into that low belly. And maybe on the exhale, allowing just a little bit of muscle contraction to help that full breath leave the body, creating space for the next inhale, coming down from nose or mouth, filling lungs, branching out into all those small little crevices of the lungs. And from there, moving into all of the small crevices of the body, nourishing each cell, nourishing each thought. And we'll take one more here. And as we begin the movement portion of class, I invite you to allow this array of emotions to be expressed through your body. So maybe that feeling of nervousness wants the deep exhale to roll the shoulders in, maybe even bringing hands to belly or chest. And maybe that excitement wants the chest to rise to the sky. It wants the hands to lift. It wants the heart to sing, and maybe a smile on the face. So I encourage you to allow this movement. Most of us are in private spaces, so maybe even feeling more confident being able to express the emotional body through the physical body. And we'll start with some seated cat and cows. Inhale opens the belly, opens the chest, maybe even allowing the gaze to come to where the wall and the ceiling meet out in front of us. And on the exhale, the belly comes in, the chin tucks, the shoulders maybe even roll slightly in. Inhale, coming forward, rolling the shoulders back, opening the heart, feeling the undulation of the spine, not only in the bones, but in the muscles and in the fascia, maybe even across the skin. Following your breath. And we'll take 2 more here. And with our next inhale, slowly coming back through center. Arms rise to the sky, reach the fingers up towards the heavens. On our exhale, we're gonna arc to the right, letting that right hand come down into the earth. Left arm reaches up and over. Thinking about extending the elbow towards the sky as the fingertips reach out over the center of the head. The right hand making gentle contact with the earth, supporting the weight of the upper body. With our inhale, turning the sternum towards the sky. Gaze rises up underneath the left elbow. On our exhale, rolling the sternum down towards the earth as our gaze comes down toward that right hand. Again, inhale, rotation of the spine helps us lift the gaze. And on the exhale, we rotate the spine down towards the earth. We'll do one more breath cycle here. And with our next inhale, making our way all the way back through center, all 10 fingers reach for the heavens and we'll arc to the left. Left hand comes down to the earth as the right arm rises up and over, creating a bit of a rainbow over the center of the head. Again, that left hand is now holding the weight of the body, keeping both sits bones grounded into the earth. With our inhale, rolling the sternum towards the sky, gaze under the right elbow. On the exhale, gazing at the earth. Follow your own breath cycle. We'll do 2 more here. One more long, deep breath. And slowly making our way all the way back through center. All 10 fingers are reaching to the sky. On the exhale, hands come around the back of the body. We'll interlace the fingers. Knuckles reach towards the earth behind us as our chest opens out in front, lifting that heart center. Rolling the shoulders down and back. One more breath here. And on our exhale, a gentle tuck of the chin, creating space from the top of the head, down the spine, all the way into the sits bones. And slowly rising, coming back into midline. Go ahead and slide off of your cushion if you are seated up on one. We're gonna bring our right leg out in front, attempting to have the shin of that right leg become parallel with the front edge of the mat. Our left leg is gonna come on top, maybe ankle to ankle, maybe ankle to shin, maybe allowing this left ankle to come over to the right knee. Keeping both feet flexed here. We want to be really mindful of the ankle, of the tendons and ligaments protecting the foot. We're in fire log. Our right leg is parallel with the front of the mat. Left leg maybe parallel, maybe in a more moderate cross-legged posture. Hands can rest on the legs or down by the sides. Lifting up through the center of the head, we're breathing into the hips. Creating a softness and ease in the hips, thinking about the head of the femurs and the acetabulums, bringing our breath and our awareness into this space. Notice where you're holding. Sometimes we have additional holding in the body that we can soften. Maybe it's not even in the legs or hips. Maybe it's in the face, the shoulders, or the hands. We'll take one more breath here. And on our exhale, gently release. Slowly extend the legs out in front. Toes are reaching up towards the heavens, reaching through the bottoms of the feet. Inhale, arms come up overhead. On our exhale, we'll take a forward fold. Belly button comes down first, and then chest and chin. Finally, we allow gaze to drop towards our knees. Hands can rest anywhere on the legs or by the sides of the body. With our next inhale, we'll come into a nice long full spine, gaze out in front. And with our exhale, settling slightly deeper into our forward fold, and we'll breathe here. You're always welcome to keep those knees bent if that feels most right for you. We'll take one more breath here. And with our inhale, slowly rising back to center. From here, we'll place our left leg down first, shin parallel with the front edge of the mat. And then the right leg comes maybe ankle to ankle, maybe ankle to shin, maybe ankle to knee. Lots of options here. Find what feels most right for you. Flexing the feet, keeping those tendons and ligaments nice and safe. Again, hands can rest on the legs or they can extend out to our sides. We're lifting through the center of the head and softening into the hips. Soften the brow, soften the jaw. And we'll take one more long, deep breath here. And with our exhale, gently unwind. Again, we'll extend the legs directly out in front. Toes reach for the heavens. Inhale, arms rise. On our exhale, we'll fold forward. Belly down first, and then chest and chin. Gaze drops to the knees, rolling those sits bones out behind us, keeping the hamstrings nice and long. Again, a softness or buoyancy of the knees might be most appropriate this morning. We'll take one more long, beautiful breath here. And with our inhale, slowly making our way back to center. We'll take our time coming onto hands and knees, placing our knees directly below our hips. Palms come directly below the shoulders, peeling the belly up and away from the earth, nice and strong in our tabletop. Again, trying to make this tabletop an active posture rather than just passively on hands and knees. So we've got palms pressing into the earth. We've got belly peeling up and away from the mat, feeling the long line from the tip of the tailbone up and out the center of the head. Working with proprioception here, where are we in space? Maybe noticing if you feel that the belly is dropping too far towards the earth, or maybe we're rounding into the center of the back. Just playing with your posture, finding something that feels neutral and steady. And we'll take one more breath here, strong in the core. Accentuating that strength of the belly, we're going to press the tops of the feet down into the mat and gently lift the knees just about an inch or so, feeling the engagement of the core as we lift through those knees. Trying to maintain that strength in the belly, gently lowering the knees back to the earth. We'll shift our weight onto the right knee as the left foot extends out behind. Pressing those left toes down into the mat, we're shifting our weight out the left heel, opening through the foot, the ankle, the Achilles, all the way up through the back of that left leg. Strong arms, strong belly. One more breath. And slowly shifting forward, we'll lift this left leg up and off of the earth, extending the left leg directly out behind us, attempting to find parallel with the mat or something similar. And from here, we're going to bend the knee so the sole of the foot is facing the sky. With our next inhale, gently press the foot to the heavens, engaging the glutes, and then slowly release back to center. With our next inhale, press the bottom of the foot towards the heavens. Keep that belly nice and strong, and then return to center. We'll do one more here. Press towards the sky. Feel the glutes, strengthen the belly, and then slowly release. Left leg extends out again directly behind us. We're going to bring this left leg across the right side of the body. Press the toes down into the earth. And then we'll shift our weight again out that left heel. From here, gaze is welcome to look over the right shoulder, gazing back at the foot. Breathing into the side body, opening through the outside of the left hip. And on our exhale, coming all the way to all fours, and then shift the hips back towards the heels. We'll find child's pose. Forehead comes to the earth as the fingertips reach out towards the top of the mat. Find your breath. And again, I welcome you to find that physical expression of the emotional body if that feels appropriate. Maybe through the face, maybe even through sound. And with our next inhale, we'll rise back to all fours, making our way into tabletop. Gently press the tops of the feet into the earth, lifting the knees, strong in the belly, and then slowly releasing the knees back down onto the earth. Right foot extends out behind. Right toes reach down into the mat as we shift our weight out the right heel. Releasing through the Achilles, the bottom of the foot, the calf. And from here, slowly coming forward so the shoulders come again directly above the wrists. We'll lift the right leg up off of the earth. Gently bend the right knee, sole of the foot is reaching for the sky. On our inhale, engage the glutes, lift just slightly towards the heavens, and then release to center. Keeping that engagement in the belly, we're really protecting the low back with a strong belly. Inhale, press to the sky. Release back to center. One more here. Inhale, press to the sky. And release back to center. Right leg extends all the way out behind us. Bringing this right leg across the left side of the body, press the toes down into the earth. Shifting the weight out the heel. From here, you're welcome to look over the left shoulder as the gaze comes back to the foot. And with our exhale, we'll slowly release, making our way back to center. Finding all fours, curling the toes under. We'll roll our sits bones to the sky, and as you're ready, begin lifting pelvis up to the heavens, shifting the weight into the heels of the hands, finding downward dog. Maybe pedaling out the feet, maybe allowing those knees to be bent. Taking your time, especially if it's early morning where you are, maybe you've just rolled out of bed, giving yourself permission to be real gentle on the body here. One more long breath in our downward dog. And with our inhale, right foot flies to the sky. We're going to point through those right toes, gently drape the foot over the left side of the body, finding a three-legged dog. Right knees reaching towards the heavens. Right toes are draped towards the earth. And with our inhale, right foot flies back to the heavens. And then we'll bring it all the way through up in between the hands. Go ahead and take your time here, planting your feet for warrior one. Foundation of the pose is most important. We want the right heel in line with the instep of the left foot. Right knee comes directly above the right ankle. And then as we're ready, we can rise up, reaching our fingers up towards the sky. Shifting that left hip slightly forward so that we can keep those hips squared off in front. Again, right knee's directly above or maybe behind the ankle, just not out over the ankle. As we reach our fingers up towards the heavens, we drop our shoulders towards the earth, creating lots of space between the ears and the shoulders. Strong in the belly. One more breath here. On our exhale, we'll transition right into warrior two. Maybe stepping that left foot back just slightly, arms come to the side, gaze is over the right hand. We drop our shoulders, reach through the fingers, right knee directly above or somewhere behind the ankle. Chest is open, gaze is soft. Find your breath. Taking just a moment to be sure you can see your toes over the top of that right knee. Being real mindful that our knee is not jutted out over the toes. Really protecting the joints here. One more breath. On our exhale, we'll find peaceful warrior. Left hand comes down to the back of that left leg. Right arm reaches up towards the sky. You're welcome to wrap the left hand around the back side of the body if that feels good for your practice this morning. Lifting the chest. Left leg is buoyant, not locked. So being real mindful on that left knee. And with our inhale, returning back to warrior two. Soften the shoulders, reach through the fingers. Exhale, right elbow's gonna come down onto that right knee, left arm's reaching for the heavens. The right hand is active as if you're holding a precious stone or a bowl of water. Nice and strong in that right arm, helps us keep the chest open and reach the fingers towards the sky. Breathing into the inner thigh of that right leg. One more breath here. And with our inhale, we'll find warrior two. Exhale, hands windmill to the earth. We're going to step the right foot back to meet the left, finding downward dog. And from here, releasing the knees to the earth, we're going to make our way into child's pose, forehead to the floor. Breathe here. If your shoulders are wanting a little bit of a break, go ahead and allow those hands to come back down by the feet, finding infant pose, letting the shoulders roll down. Gaze drops to the earth. With our next inhale, we'll come up onto all fours. Finding tabletop, again, shoulder directly above wrists, hips directly above knees. Curling the toes under, sits bones, turn towards the sky, and then we lift our pelvis to the heavens as we shift back for downward dog. Heels make their way towards the earth. They definitely don't have to touch, and if it feels better to have the knees bent, go for it. Take that modification. And with our next inhale, left foot's gonna fly to the sky. Point through those left toes, gently bend the left knee and let the left foot drape over the right side of the body. Three-legged dog, opening the belly, opening the pelvis. One more breath here. And with our inhale, left foot flies to the sky, and then we'll bring it all the way through up in between the hands. Again, plant those feet for warrior one. Ground the foundation of your pose, and then as you're ready, rise up. Left knee directly above or somewhere behind the ankle. We want to gently bring that right hip forward, squaring off those hips. If that's hard on your knees to square off the hip, please bring your stance closer together. So again, find your modification. I'm not there to see you all, so listen to your body. Settling into our warrior. Shoulders are soft, arms are active, belly strong. And from here, we'll find warrior two. Gazes over the left hand, dropping those shoulders, reach through the fingers. Thinking about little butterflies resting on top of your hands, holding the hand up. The strength of the pose is really coming from midline, coming up through belly, dropping the shoulders, strong in the core. We'll take two more breaths here, settling into your warrior. And on our exhale, we'll find peaceful warrior. Opening through the chest, lifting the heart. And with our inhale, warrior two. Again, allowing these poses to be fluid. So those micro adjustments, micro movements can happen throughout the pose. We're not statues here. Follow the breath. One more. And with the exhale, elbow to knee, right arm rises. Again, this left hand is active and strong. Right fingers are reaching for the sky. Strong in that left leg. One more breath here. And with our inhale, we'll slowly rise up, finding warrior two. And with our exhale, windmill to the earth. We're going to step the left foot back to find downward dog. And from here, gently walk the hands back to meet the feet, finding our Uttanasana, full forward fold. Hands can dangle towards the earth. You can interlace the hands at the elbows, rolling sits bones to the sky. Maybe a gentle shake of the head or shake of the head, yes or no. Letting go of that neck and shoulders. Placing the hands just below the knees, we'll inhale for a flat back, peeling the belly up and away from the earth. Gaze is down at the mat. And on our exhale, we'll fold forward. Nice and soft in the knees, we're gonna roll to standing. Come on up one vertebrae at a time. Belly comes in nice and strong towards the spine. And we roll all the way up. Shoulders roll down and back. The last thing to rise is the gaze. Finding our mountain, grounding the feet into the earth, lifting through the center of the head. Tadasana, mountain pose, as if we could hold up a mountain with our heels. Strength and steadfastness. One more breath here. We'll gently shift our weight onto the right leg. Left foot's going to come for tree, either to the ankle, maybe to the lower leg, maybe to the inner thigh. Our gaze is out in front, settling on something, not moving. Hands come to heart center. Wherever this left leg is placed along the right leg, we want to think about keeping that knee nice and open. Engaging those left lateral rotators, engaging the left glutes, keeping that left leg nice and open. Right leg is strong but buoyant, soft in the knee. Hands come to heart center. One more breath here. And with our inhale, arms rise to the sky, reaching the fingers up towards the heavens. And with our next exhale, we'll find goddess arms, and we'll bend those elbows. Palms are spread out nice and wide. Left leg is going to come out in front, hip, ankle, and knee all at 90. That left foot is flexed nice and strong. Belly is active. And from here, we're going to twist towards this left knee, using the belly to help you twist. Strong in the core. And returning back to center. And releasing to midline, finding your mountain. Slowly shifting your weight to the left foot. Right foot comes to the ankle, the lower leg, or the inner thigh. Find your gaze. Hands come to heart center. Again, nice and strong in the belly. Buoyant left leg. You're welcome to grab for a chair or a wall to help you steady. And with our inhale, our arms rise to the sky. You reach through the fingers, really lift through that heart, activating heart center here, strong, open, compassionate. Exhale, bending the elbows, finding goddess arms, fingertips are spread out wide. Our right knee is going to come out in front. Ankle, knee, and hip are at 90. Taking that strong spinal twist, using the belly like we're wringing out a towel. Belly's nice and strong here, helping us twist open towards that right knee. Shoulders are spread, elbows bent, fingers strong. And from here, slowly returning to center and finding our mountain. Inhale, arms rise to the sky. Palms come to touch and we'll fold forward, gently pressing the palms into one another as we fold all the way down, finding Uttanasana, fingertips reach for the earth. With our next inhale, palms directly below the knees, we find a flat back. Exhale, returning to our full forward fold. Soften those knees so that our hands can come to the mat, and from here we'll walk forward into downward dog, allowing those heels to stay on the earth for as long as possible, and allowing them the freedom to lift up if that feels most right on your body. And with our next inhale, we'll shift our weight forward and find plank. You're always welcome to drop the knees to the earth. Belly strong, shoulders directly over the wrists. Nice long line from heels out the center of the head. If your knees are dropping towards the earth, you're welcome to find a strong tabletop with that belly. And from here, we'll lower to the mat, either knees, chest, and chin, or taking chaturanga, coming all the way down, keeping those elbows tucked in nice and close to the body. With our next inhale, nice little baby cobra, gaze out in front, slightly lift the chest, point through the toes. And with our exhale, releasing all the way to the mat. We can allow one cheek to come to the earth. And then the heels are going to come in towards our bottom. We've got lots of options here. You're welcome to just let the heels come as far as they can, or you can reach back with the hands. And if the hands meet the feet, maybe the heels can come a little closer towards our bottom. And with our next inhale, we'll bring our gaze out in front, gently press the feet into the hands, rolling the shoulders back and away from the body, gaze is out in front. If your feet and your hands do not meet, allow the knees to stay on the earth and simply lift the chest up. One more breath here. And exhale, gently lower down, release the toes, hands come by our sides, and we'll press all the way back for a child's pose. Rounding the back as our hips shift towards our heels. And with our next inhale, coming back to all fours. Staying here in tabletop or finding plank. Coming down through chaturanga or knees, chest, and chin. Finding a baby cobra. Exhale to the earth. Opposite cheek lands down on the mat. Feet come in nice and close towards our body. Again, reaching back if that's appropriate for your hands to meet the feet. And with our next inhale, gaze comes in front. Gently press the feet into the hands, lift the heart. Shoulder blades are coming towards one another. One more breath here. And slowly release the knees, releasing the feet back down to the mat. Hands come right next to those armpits. Gently press up, rounding through the back as we shift all the way back into child's pose. That belly comes in nice and strong towards the spine. And we settle the hips towards the heels. And with our next inhale, coming back onto all fours, taking tabletop or plank. And then come on down to your mat, either knees, chest, and chin, or chaturanga. Taking a little baby cobra, gaze out in front. Exhale, releasing to the mat. And from here, we'll take our time rolling onto our backs. Bringing the knees into the chest, we'll take a mindful head to knee, gently press the knees away from the body, tucking the chin, gaze comes to the belly, and then releasing back down onto the mat. We'll keep our knees bent and let our feet come nice and close towards our pelvis. Go ahead and let those feet come to the wide edges of the mat, so the feet are a little bit wider than hip width. From here, we're going to drop our right knee towards midline, coming onto the big toe edge of the right foot. Right arm comes up overhead. We're reaching from those right fingers down through the belly, releasing the lats, releasing the psoas, releasing the quads, letting that right knee make its way towards the earth. If it's uncomfortable on your knee, you're always welcome to grab for a bolster so that that knee doesn't have to come down so far. And we'll take 2 more long breaths here. And slowly stand the right knee. Right hand comes back down to our side or resting on the belly. Left knee is going to drop to midline. Left arm up overhead. Again, feeling these long lines of the body from fingertips all the way down the body and out that left knee. And we'll take 2 more long breaths here. And with our inhale, gently standing the left knee, left hand comes back down to belly or by our side, slowly walking those feet towards one another, letting the soles of the feet come together as the knees drop down to the left and right, hands extend out to our sides. We're in a reclining Baddha Konasana, letting the knees be heavy, belly soft. From here, gently allowing the eyes to close, maybe placing the tongue right behind the front 2 teeth where the teeth meet the roof of the mouth, allowing the jaw to be soft, open, and at rest. Slowly starting to let the body recognize that we're moving into Shavasana, moving into our final resting pose for the body, but recognize it might not be a resting pose for the mind. And letting all of that be okay. Everything is welcome. We'll slowly begin to straighten the right leg all the way down to the bottom of the mat. And taking your time straightening the left leg to the bottom of the mat. We'll let the feet flop open and be at rest. Shifting the body in any way that feels like it will make it more comfortable. Maybe grabbing a blanket to cover with, Maybe letting the hands come closer towards the sides. Maybe a gentle shift of the pelvis. Giving yourself these next couple of moments to allow the body to find comfort. Giving the body permission to rest in comfort can encourage the mind to do so as well. Letting the mind follow the cue of the body. Maybe searching for stillness. Maybe finding comfort in some gentle movement as you make your way into our final resting posture. And as the mind begins to track the body, we will give it a little bit of assistance to settle in, focusing on something like a task. And this task will be our breath. Simply watching the inhale, letting the mind become increasingly curious of the passageway of the breath. Maybe letting the mind become increasingly curious about the way the breath seems to fill the whole belly. And then letting the mind become curious about the exhale as the belly softens, chest lowers. Air seems to seep out of the body, maybe through the nose or the mouth. And as we track the breath, watching each inhale and exhale, we can allow the mind to stay focused on this process, settling all other thoughts and tendencies, letting the breath take up residency in the awareness of the mind. Allowing yourself to bear witness to this process rather than bring judgment, opinion, or expectation. Sometimes when the world around us seems to be noisy or disruptive, I lean into the words of Thich Nhat Hanh and his simple but profound teaching of breathing in, I know I'm breathing in. Breathing out, I know I'm breathing out. Maybe these words or something similar can be like a mantra for your mind, your body, your breath to stay in sync and in unison, allowing the body, the mind, and the spirit to be soft and present. And with our next inhale, gently begin wiggling the fingers and the toes, maybe even rolling ankles and wrists. And with our next inhale, allowing the knees to come in towards chest as the body slowly rolls to one side. Giving ourselves a moment here to recognize a different orientation, recognizing the transition from practice back into our day, and staying rooted and grounded in the breath. Our next inhale helps us to set up to a comfortable seated position. Maybe cross-legged on your mat, maybe again perched on your cushion. Finding the breath, watching the inhale and exhale. And we'll gently allow our arms to rise to the sky, fingertips reaching to the heavens, long, deep breath. Exhale, hands come to heart center. Again, I want to thank you all for coming out and joining us in practice as we begin the RC for our day 3 or day 5. I hope that you have a wonderful day. Be inspired. Namaste.